From a highly secure network of top secret locations across South Texas, this is the Spurs Insider Good Vibes Edition, 4-0 edition, first place in the Western Conference edition. I am Mike Finger, joined by our usual panel of Express News Spurs beat writers Jeff McDonald and Tom Orsborn, along with sports editor Nick Talbot. And Tom, in the words of friend of the podcast, Dwayne Rankin, the immortal words of the man from Phoenix, what are we doing?
We could be working till June.
We could be working till June. This is over the top. This is a ridiculous overreaction.
Well,
We're being kind of silly, but we haven't talked to the listeners of the Spurs Insider podcast in 7 days. And when you talk about some of the most awe-inspiring, noteworthy, action-filled, development-packed 7 days in the history of weeks between Spurs Insider podcasts, I can't think of many that have included more developments, more excitement, more good vibes than the past 7 days, Jeff. And to bring us down, where do you want to start?
We could be working till late April.
wah, wah.
Well, that would be an amazing accomplishment.
It would be. But we started this preseason of podcasts talking about how this season could be different, how the expectations are higher, how the Spurs needed to get off to a good start, the term that Gregg Popovich loved, and they've darn it if they haven't exceeded all those expectations. It's going really well.
They're playing pretty awesome, and the big French guy is playing pretty awesome. And Stephon Castle, turnovers aside, has been you've seen a leap from him. Dylan Harper's been a revelation. Devin Vassell's been great. Keldon Johnson's been great. All the little role-playing pieces have played their roles. We have a 4-0 start.
Royal we.
Yeah, royal we. We're seeing a 4-0
Michael
start.
C. Wright just laughed at that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Me and Michael C. Wright are going to come to blows at some point on the platform up there. I just want you guys to know.
Okay.
And I will.
I apologize for derailing this train of thought, much in the way that Victor Wembanyama derails drives to the basket.
Correct.
Go ahead.
But anyway, the Spurs are off to a 4-0 start. Haven't seen one of those around these parts in a while, to be honest. And team has never been 5-0 in the whole history of the dadgum most story.
Wait a second. George Gervin never went 5-0?
He did not.
David Robinson never went 5-0?
He did not.
Tim Duncan never went 5-0?
He did not.
Sandro Mamukelashvili never went 5-0?
Shockingly, he did not.
This is big news.
Well,
the Spurs haven't gone 5-0 yet, but they have a chance to do something this Thursday against Miami that no team in the history of the NBA's most successful in terms of winning percentage, one of the top franchises in NBA history has ever done. They have a chance to do that on Thursday against the Miami Heat at the Frost Bank Center. Is that what you're telling me?
That's what I'm telling you. And they've done this without their highest paid player, De'Aaron Fox, who hasn't played a minute yet. And
wait a minute, their highest paid player, De'Aaron Fox, hasn't played a minute yet?
You're incredulous.
I've never done a podcast like this. We've been doing this podcast for a long time. Going back to, I think we started around 2018 in this format. I don't think we've ever done a 4-0 pod. I know we've never done a 4-0 podcast.
No.
Were they 4-0 in 2017, 2018? Is that one of the years? Maybe
I believe that was the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a long time since I've done a first place 4-0 podcast.
I mean,
I'm incredulous.
We haven't done a lot of 4-game winning streak podcasts because I looked it up today. And who's the guy that has been on the Spurs the longest? Keldon Johnson.
Keldon Johnson.
That man has been around for I believe it's in the 7 years he's been here. He's been around for 4-game winning streaks. And however many games is 7 times 82. He's only seen 4-game winning streaks.
That's over 100.
And the man has never in the NBA has never won 5 games in a row.
That's
So
pretty interesting.
we've got a lot of Wemby's only had 1 4-game winning streak. This would be his second, actually. So it's good vibes all around.
To pour a little cold water on it.
Well, that was my job that I was going to do, but go ahead.
Well, would anyone on the podcast like to guess the combined record of the 4 teams the Spurs have defeated so far this season?
I'm not going to guess, but I bet it ain't good.
2-13.
Yeah.
So,
So this
the
fool's
Spurs have
gold.
done what this. I won't say it's fool's gold, but in talking to one Victor Wembanyama after the Spurs defeated the Toronto Raptors last night, he said something that I think piqued Jeff's interest, piqued the whole room's interest, in that this is we won the games we're supposed to win, he said. And as Jeff noted, that's not something that the Spurs have said much in recent years. There haven't been a whole lot of games that the Spurs were supposed to win. But now that is the new mentality. Those are the new expectations. And, the schedule hasn't been strong, but they've done what they're supposed to do, which is exactly what you would expect a team making this step to do.
I mean, we talked about it before the season started. They're starting with a soft schedule, so they need to win these games, and they've done that. And I mean, there's an alternate universe where they punt the one away in New Orleans, and maybe don't, after giving up almost all of it. Well, after giving up a 26-point lead against Brooklyn, they fail to turn that game back around, and they lose that one, and you're sitting here at 2-2 and not feeling so great. Or there's an alternate universe where they played a tougher schedule to start the season, and they played the Thunder and the Cavs, and they're sitting here at 1-3. And I would say if you had played a tough schedule and were 1-3, I wouldn't overreact to that, and I wouldn't overreact to 4-0 either, except for for a team and a fan base that has endured so much losing over the past several years. It's okay to be happy. I know Pop doesn't like that word. Like Mitch doesn't need to be happy. He's the coach. But fans can be happy with 4-0 and can celebrate that. But let's also not put the cart, 70 more games ahead of the horse. Like there's still a ways to go in this thing.
It's also acceptable, not necessarily to be happy in the sense that Pop hated, but for the players to have, in the words of Harrison Barnes, who lended the title to this week's podcast, all-time good vibes. Like this team just hasn't had those vibes in a long, long time. And to cover a team where everyone is optimistic, everyone is upbeat, everyone is seeing evidence that progress has been made, I think that just from a psychological standpoint is something that a lot of guys on this team needed. And even if it is against 4 of the worst teams in the league by record so far this year, and even if it isn't against the teams that they're going to be contending against for playoff berths,
Right.
I think it's a big deal. And
I mean, you can say the Spurs beat a bunch of bad teams, but like it wasn't that long ago they were the bad teams.
Yep.
Like they've graduated to the point where they're not those teams anymore. They may not be the Thunder, but they're not the teams that they're not the bad teams anymore. And that's one of that I can't really articulate it, but it's one of the things I've noticed from a lot of these early games is now it's the other teams that look wildly inexperienced at times and taking shots that you wouldn't necessarily want. And like all the things the Spurs used to do when they were growing up, they're not, the Spurs aren't the most experienced team in the league yet by a long shot, but you can see evidence of a team that's played together a lot. A lot of those guys now have played together a lot. They've been around together a lot. And I can't really put the words to it, but it's just this thing, when you see it, where they've had the
Potter
edge.
Stewart.
Yeah. We brought him up twice now on this podcast. Probably the only Spurs podcast has brought up Potter Stewart twice in like the span of a few months. But anyway, where was I going with that? I mean, it's something you just know when you see, and they're they look like they're the team that knows what it's doing more often than these first four opponents that they've played. Like that part has switched. Now when they go and play the Thunder, they might be the little brother again. But right now they're looking like a team that knows what it's doing.
We have so much to get to this week. So much has happened in those first four games. So let's try to go about it player by player to start out with. And the week from Victor, we're not going to add too much to what you've been reading and hearing and seeing all over the country, all over the world over the past 7 days. But just starting that first night in Dallas through last night against the Raptors, it's just play after play, jaw-dropping moment after jaw-dropping moment. For the first 2 years of his career here in San Antonio, we've talked about how one of the biggest reactions that you sense in arenas when you're watching Victor Wembanyama play is just laughter from the fans about how is this guy doing this? And he's almost taken that to a new level. Not almost, he has taken that to a new level through these first four games, because it's not just the occasional hilarious highlight reel play that you've never seen before. Now he's doing it with efficiency, with purpose. It seems like every dribble he takes, which haven't been as many dribbles as he's taken in recent years, every move to the basket he makes, every pass he makes has an idea behind it, has intention behind it. And I've been thoroughly impressed. I don't know if that says much, but it really is been it's been something to watch, and to think that he hadn't played in 8 months. It's staggering.
And the things that don't make the highlight reels, I mean, because the highlights are just otherworldly, and it's what Mitch Johnson has said, like, where he's really scary is when he just does the easy, simple thing and it looks like he's playing against his little brother. Like he just turns around on the block and banks it in. And you know, when he does that sort of stuff, it's like, oh, he's got the spectacular part of it, but he can also starts to have these things that are just easy for him. And that makes everything. Last night, the man took 8 shots. Again, last night against Toronto, Spurs win going away. Victor Wembanyama only takes 8 shots. He only blocks 1 shot. Notice
He
plus
took
minus
no
was-
3-pointers for the first time in his career.
That's correct. I did not notice that. So no
10 for
3-pointers,
10 from the line.
8 field goals, blocks 1 shot, plus 35.
Yeah.
Like he dominated a game in which he took 8 shots. And you think, oh, well, then maybe he blocked 10. No, he blocked 1. But he dominated that game. Anyone who watched that game saw that man dominate without... I mean, like his box score looked good because of the free throws, 24 points, 15 rebounds, like a monster box score. But it wasn't just highlight after highlight after highlight last night. He just dominated that with his efficiency and with making the simple plays.
And he did have highlights, that 360 layup, banking layup.
He said he'd never tried that before.
Jeez.
That just came to him. I guess that's not something you would try, but that was
think,
impressive.
I think
what
we're finding with Victor is he can be both style and substance, you know, both sizzle and steak. And when you get them both together, it's just like basketball perfection.
And as Sandro Mamukelashvili told me last night, I think he's just getting started.
It's really crazy to think about it, but that's true. He's only going to get better from this as long as he stays on the court. The one block that Jeff referenced, that extended a streak of 89 in a row, I believe, that he's had at least one block in. But if he didn't get that, I think Jeff McDonald was going to write somewhere, expressnews.com, the Dead Tree edition of the San Antonio Express News, that in a game that was looking like it was going to end his block shot streak, he might have played one of his best defensive games. Because you watch the way teams and the Raptors were sort of playing like 5 out, not challenging him as much, but still just possession after possession of a player thinking about possibly challenging Victor at the rim, and instead of putting up a shot from mid-range or going towards the rim or doing anything, there's just like a panic pass out of bounds. It's just that he is so much in the heads of opposing offenses, It's something that I'm not sure I've ever noticed from NBA players before. I mean, these are among the best players in the world, and they want no part of the type of drives and shots that they've been taking their whole life. It's
like they no doubt saw that sequence against Brooklyn on Sunday. I forget who's made the shot, kind of a driving floater, and Wemby gets it at the apex, blocks it on it to his right, and then he goes down. The momentum brings his body almost down to the floor. He pops up, goes to his left, and blocks another shot. That was unbelievable.
And then hits.
Is that the one when he goes to the other and then hits the thrice?
It's a 40-footer. Yeah, it's like in baseball where they say a walk's as good as a hit. A pass out of bounds is as good as a block shot. Like, it's a turnover either way, right? And sometimes block shots aren't even turnovers.
Yeah. As Harrison Barnes suggested last night, there should be a stat called, instead of for block shots, derailed drives, and Victor would lead the world in those.
And it was patently obvious. Like, as soon as Victor goes out of the game, like, the Raptors' whole demeanor changes. And I know, like, as you astutely pointed out to us in the press room last night, because we didn't notice, Luke Cornet was not available. And that's, in a perfect world, that you don't have those layup lines when Vic's off the floor, because Luke Cornet is a perfectly, I was going to say capable rim defender, but he's an elite rim defender. But he wasn't there last night. So they were doing rim runs. I know Bismack Biyombo is a great guy that to have on the team as your 15th man. If he's playing, it's because it's an emergency. And so as soon as they saw Vic off the floor, it's layup, dunk, layup, drive. And eventually Spurs just went small, and we're going to play Carter Bryant there or something, or Keldon's going to guard Jakob Poeltl or whatever. But I mean, it was just, when you're talking about the Raptors mentality and how freaked out they were by Victor, it was also underscored by the fact that every time Victor came off the floor, that freaked outness went away, and they looked like a competent, basketball outfit again.
Well, I wanted to get to a bunch of other players that probably fans are more interested in hearing about, but that provides a pretty decent segue into another guy we needed to discuss this week in Luke Cornet. And he missed the back-to-back at home, but those first two games on the road pretty much provided all the evidence we needed to see that he was exactly what the Spurs were hoping to add in the offseason, and I think he's going to be a pretty great fit for this team. The backup defender that Jeff alluded to earlier that the Spurs sorely needed last year, sorely needed the past couple nights against Brooklyn and Toronto, and just the two-man game when he's out there with Victor. Luke Cornet makes basketball plays. He contributes in all kinds of winning areas, and I think that's going to work out really, really well.
If the Spurs had gotten into a situation with last year's roster, like they got into in New Orleans, go into overtime, Victor fouls out the 47 seconds or whatever into overtime, on the road in New Orleans facing Zion, they're screwed. They're not winning that game.
There's no chance.
They're not winning that game. But you have Luke Cornet there now, and he was huge in overtime, just keeping Zion from taking over. I mean, I think Zion had a basket or two, but there were also times where he didn't, where Luke was stifling him at the rim. And I don't think there's any, like, if you're having to play the guys you had as Vic's backups last year throughout overtime, I don't think there's any way they win that game in New Orleans.
Another segue that this leads to is earlier in that game, there was this wasn't as important as overtime, but pretty close to it. I believe it was late third, it might have been early fourth, when we were sitting in our seats in the Smoothie King Center, and the Spurs, after their huge opening night blowout of Dallas, were trailing the New Orleans Pelicans by 8 points. And Victor Wembanyama committed a foul, headed to the Spurs bench. Zion Williamson stayed on the floor. And I turned to one Jeff McDonald and said, this could get out of hand right now. Victor's off the floor. Zion's on the floor. Pelicans up by 8. And over the next several minutes, with Victor Wembanyama watching from the bench, the San Antonio Spurs outscored the New Orleans Pelicans 14-0, which never would have happened last year. And a big part of it was Luke Cornet, who we just talked about. But another big part of that run was young Dylan Harper,
Dylan Harper,
who
yeah.
had some rough starts to games against Dallas and New Orleans. But in moments like that, he took over that 14-0 run. And only 4 games into his NBA career, he's still undefeated as an NBA player, preseason and regular season. And he's presenting the argument that he's ready to contribute right now, make a difference right now. And I think the Spurs are really happy with that pick.
Yeah, he's just, moxie, the word moxie comes to mind. He's not wowed by anything. He's a tough kid. Saw that play. It didn't show up in the box score against Brooklyn, but man, he ripped the ball away from two nets. Got control of it, took it down court, made an assist, Spurs score. I mean, stuff like that. He's just, he sticks his nose in there so well.
And Jeff wrote that the rookie saved the Spurs bacon in that game in a way when they had a really good all around game, but in the closing minutes, or in the minutes when the Spurs staved off that rally, it was Dylan Harper's paws all over that too.
Yeah, he was all over that. And that game against Brooklyn, his imprint really started early in that game because Brooklyn defensively was all over the Spurs to start the first 6 minutes. I think the Spurs had 4 turnovers in the first 6 possessions, just not really able to really even handle the ball against Brooklyn's pressure defense. And when they brought in Dylan Harper, that unlocked everything because he was able to get out of those traps and get out of that pressure. And once you break the pressure, all of a sudden things are a lot easier. And eventually the Nets have to stop doing it. And he really unlocked that game from them at the beginning. And then again at the end where he was just making play after play after play. And a lot of it is his scoring, but he was very good defensively against the Nets. Yeah. It's the assists he led. I think against the Nets was the game he led the team in assists with 8 off the bench. Just really knows what he's doing. That first game in Dallas, we were sitting right there courtside when he came in, and it was the only time I haven't seen a lot of him, just preseason, and then the opener in Dallas, first time on the floor for him, he looked like a little deer in the headlights at first.
Yeah,
like the first jumper he took was short armed and rushed.
Missed his first 2 free throws.
He missed his first 2 free throws. I think he had 2 quick turnovers, like a carrying. He just
stepped out of bounds.
And even his, on the look on his face was a little bit shell shocked at first, but then he went to the bench after that shift and seemed to recover and finish that game fine. And I think I asked him after the Brooklyn game, he told us after the Dallas game, I was nervous. I had jitters. I asked him after the Brooklyn game if the jitters were officially gone. He said, "Yeah, it's just basketball now," and that's what we're seeing out of him. And like with everything else we're seeing after 4 games, it's a small sample size, and there will be growing pains. But that guy's I don't want to be too over the top. That guy's a future star.
Yeah, and against Toronto, six assists against 1 turnover. He's going to be pretty damn good.
Another takeaway from that Dallas game, to check another name off the box this week, is if Victor Wembanyama hadn't delivered one of the most remarkable opening night performances, for sure in Spurs history, one of the best in the league in a long time, in terms of 40 points and 15 rebounds and no turnovers and a string of highlight reel plays that had the internet buzzing. I think that the huge takeaway, if Victor Wembanyama hadn't been there, what everybody would have been talking about was that the reigning rookie of the year looked like he took his game to a whole new level and was wowing people left and right with dunks and with defensive plays, and just in a guy who looked like he knew what he was doing and was ready to dominate. And that's Stephon Castle, who suddenly has become a guy that we're first mentioning 25 minutes into a podcast, it speaks to how great the Spurs week was. But this is going to be a big year for Stephon Castle, and Stephon Castle is going to be a solid, if not all-star player for years to come for this franchise, I think.
He's been amazing, and let me think how I'm going to say this. I think he'll be more amazing when they can get him off the ball so much.
I agree.
So this is going to be my hot take of this podcast, and it might not be hot to you guys, but to some people, this is going to sound like a hot take because you just talked about Dylan Harper and how amazing he is, and now we're talking about Stephon Castle might be an all-star player for years to come. So there's a lot of people that say, well, this just shows they don't need De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
Get rid of, you can trade them. You don't need them. You have these guards. You want to play those guys. You want to get this thing where those guys have to sit. My hot take is these games have proven that they, in the short term, this season, they need De'Aaron Fox. They need him back now because they need a guy that can handle. They need a guy that can handle the ball against pressure in big situations, that has the experience with that, and that's De'Aaron Fox. Now, Dylan Harper is a guy that can probably do that, and sooner rather than later. Like he projects to that. But Steph's just not a lead guard. I don't know, full time. He can do it in spurts, but not full time. He's doesn't have the handles for that. I don't think. You want to know who leads the league in turnovers right now? Yep. 25. He leads the league. And I'm not crapping on him. He's out of position a little bit.
I think your qualification there was exactly the one that I was going to come in with when you said he's not a guy who can handle the ball. He's not a guy who, at least in the short term, you want your primary starting bulk of the minutes handling of the ball. You don't necessarily want that from him. I think he projects perfectly as a guy who can do that for stretches at a time,
right?
When either De'Aaron Fox or Dylan Harper is on the bench,
right?
But yeah, and another thing is
secondary ball handler,
secondary ball handler, but a guy who can definitely create plays. Like his synergy with Victor so far from the first quarter of the first game has come a long way. Like he's a guy who understands how to get the ball to Victor in places where Victor wants it. That's been sort of impressive to me about him. There is the turnover situation, but I think exactly what Jeff said. I'm going to agree with him, as loath as I am to do that this enthusiastically. But yeah, I think that a question that we had on podcasts leading into the season about how they work these three guards together, I think we've come to the most likely explanation for how they're going to do it, and that is De'Aaron Fox is going to step in as a starting point guard. Dylan Harper is going to, for a while, be the backup point guard, and Stephon Castle is going to play off the ball. And one other thing that leads me to believe that could work is a couple. I can think of two for sure, and there might have been more of the biggest, most important, most clutch three-pointers that the Spurs have made this year have both been by Stephon Castle. In moments of the game where it seems like it's going to go the other way, he hit one in the final minute against New Orleans. There was one in that, I think it was Brooklyn, when the game is almost going to get close again. He quells that with a three-pointer. He's not yet Steph Curry. He never will be. He's not yet Julian Champagnie from three-point range. But if he can just kind of present the three-pointer as a threat and step up and make those, I think it makes it work where he's on the wing, Devin Vassell's on the wing, and a point guard's running the show. That could work out really well.
And just to make my point clear, Stephon Castle needs to play a lot.
Yes,
and he's looked good except for the turnovers. It's all going to look a lot even better. Once they get De'Aaron Fox out there. I think people, because he only played 17 games for the Spurs last year, and it's been a long time, and the Spurs have been having this success, including the preseason without him, I think people have forgotten who De'Aaron Fox is.
Yeah.
Like, he's a good player, a great NBA scorer. And when he's out there, it's going to be even... They might take some adjustments once he gets out there. But
could it be more better with the Aaron Fox?
I think he could be more better. Like, I'm Spike Lee now.
Okay. Tom, another development from the first week. It seems like every time we ask about Devin Vassell,
yes,
and every time we ask about Keldon Johnson, the other is mentioned. Yes. Because they've had very similar weeks. They've had very similar histories with the Spurs. And now they're hitting a very similar moment in their careers where they are no longer the guys that you talk about in the first 30 minutes of a Spurs podcast.
Yes.
And yet, as Mitch Johnson has pointed out, they are contributing to winning more than they ever have in their careers.
Yeah.
And fitting their roles perfectly. And I know that you enjoy talking about them, so I'm going to open the floor to you. Just the week that was for Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson.
Well, Mitch summed it up perfectly during his pregame press conference yesterday. And, he lumps them together, but the question specifically was about Devin. Where's his headspace right now? What are you seeing from him mentally? And again, this applies. He made it clear this applies to Keldon too. But Mitch said, "I see an adult. I see a very mature mentality. I see someone that is comfortable in their own skin. I see somebody that is playing winning basketball and making an impact and really enjoying it." And I thought that summed it up perfectly for both those guys. I mean, they know they don't have to, carry the team. They don't have to be the show. They like this being role players, and they're doing their role very well. And their role is to just be all around players and to do a little bit of everything. And they're really doing it well.
Jeff McDonald has been raving about Keldon Johnson this first week.
Yeah, I think, like Tom said, he's doing a little bit of everything. And the thing that stuck out to me the most with Keldon has been his rebounding. For a guy who's not the tallest guy on the floor, he goes and gets them, man, and gets some important ones. Like he seems to have he's starting to get a sense of, we need this ball right now, whether it's an offensive rebound or a defensive rebound. He's had some really big rebounds, and with Devin, he's taking the right shots. Like I think we talked about this going into the season. Like Devin doesn't need to be there was a time earlier in his career where like he was, however they measure this metric, he was taking the toughest shots in the league and making a high clip making them at a high clip, given how difficult they were. He doesn't need to take those anymore with this team. Like they can get something open almost every possession. He's taking the ones he needs to be taking. He's been aggressive with it. He's gone to the basket a little. And also the play that sticks out to me is he sealed that Brooklyn game on defense. He made a defensive play to seal that game, jumping the passing lane there at the end and kind of getting that exclamation point dunk.
Yeah,
so
he's
a guy that's buying into there's more to life, more to this game than putting the ball in the bucket.
Yeah, you look at their lines in this back-to-back. Keldon against Brooklyn, 19 points, 7 rebounds. And as you mentioned, Jeff, he had 3 offensive rebounds that were key. And then Devin last night against Toronto, 15 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, 5 of 10 from the floor. I mean, those are 2 performances from the last 2 games that really showcase what Mitch is talking about. They're not looking to, surpass what these young guys are doing, but they're playing a very adult, very mature role right now.
And Keldon plays with such joy. It's hard not to love that.
Yeah.
The vibes are good. Tom, while we're talking about a very adult, very mature presence, like I'm going to count on you to protect me here, because I'm feeling the urge to talk about the one big negative from or the one thing I did not enjoy from the Monday night game against Toronto. I don't know if you're with me yet on what I'm referring to.
I might be.
It happened during a timeout. Should I get into that, or should I let the podcast listeners be happy?
Come on.
I think I might need to be mature. I need to be mature and not want to get. Oh, I know how I'll get out of this. Of a huge event that also happened this week that was not mentioned, has not been mentioned in this podcast, and was not mentioned by the public address announcer, was not mentioned by the Spurs in any way.
It was barely mentioned here.
There have been weeks on this podcast where we've dedicated entire shows, editions of the San Antonio Express News, the posters in the paper, just long, drawn out feature stories and columns celebrating these moments, like retiring the jersey of David Robinson or Bruce Bowen or Tony Parker, not to mention, the legends, Tony and Tim and Manu. The Spurs raised a banner before their home opener on Sunday in the most pop way imaginable, and that they did it when no one's there, never shined a spotlight on it, never ran a tribute video, just put it up. And what could be more pop than that? I was told that I wrote in the Express News that Gregg Popovich was in the arena on Sunday, really appreciated the gesture. He had given his blessing. The Spurs had thought about how to pitch this to him, and they knew that they couldn't ask him to take part in all the normal pomp and circumstance. There was no way he was going to do the tearful speeches that we often see with these jersey retirements. There was no way he was even going to walk out onto center court and wave to the crowd. But to just raise that banner alongside 7 of the guys he'd coached who have their jerseys retired, with the 1390, his record of regular season wins. Manu Ginobili had come up with the idea to put the 5 stars at the top representing the championships. Just very pop-like, very perfect for his approach and his pound the rock legacy, and that was kind of a cool thing to see. I think all 3 of us had walked through the Arena Bowl on the way to the media room that morning, and none of us noticed it until someone pointed it out to us. But that was a cool thing.
Not even like you said, public address. Not. They made no mention of it. Not even a timeout. Like, hey, here's this banner, guys. Everybody, turn your No.
It was just a stealth celebration.
Stealth celebration. But I've been told, for those wondering, he's doing well. Like I said, he was at the arena on Sunday, and someone from the Spurs told me that a lot of thought was put into this, and one of the thoughts was just let people kind of discover that on their own. They said they were sure a lot of the fans who showed up on Sunday probably saw it on social media before they walked in. But instead of everyone kind of looking at it at one time, you could walk into the arena and see it hanging there as you walk to your seat. And I don't know, no other jersey retirement, banner unveiling, anything like that has ever worked that way in the history of the league, I think. But it fits the guy. So that was
so
cool.
When they retire your jersey at your YMCA game, are you going to be there, or are you going to make them do it stealth celebration?
He'll write a damn column about it.
I want the whole ceremony.
You know who
I hope isn't? You know who I hope isn't there, Tom? I'm not gonna bring that up.
Friend of the podcast, Mike Shirley.
Shout out to Mike Shirley. Yeah. I'll say, I'm gonna.
The Coyote?
The Coyote, well-deserved induction into the San Antonio Sports Hall of Fame.
The original
this offseason. The original Coyote, Tim Dirk.
The great Tim Dirk.
An indelible figure in Spurs history and sports history. He invented a lot of stuff. Changed the game for mascots. But at this time in the history of the world and just in the modern environment, it's like the skits need some work, man. And I am going to mention this because I'll just say this: it's a choice to get a group of 19,000 people together and urge them to boo Canada. What happened to the days of just planting a guy in a Raptors jersey in the front row and putting the pie in his face, like the old classics? Dude,
what happened to the days of beating a Karl Malone piñata to death?
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's not impugn an entire country.
Karl Malone beat that piñata to death.
Some of the skits now are just incredibly lazy to me, and if I get grief for that, go ahead. The Coyote is a legend. Not say anything negative against him, but he needs better writers. Jeff will volunteer, I think. Maybe Tom will.
Yeah. It was cringe, as the kids say.
It was extremely cringe.
Since we're on the hot take subject,
Uh-huh.
I want to pin you down on this.
Okay.
Where are you on the subject or the topic of whether or not you could get buckets on Matt Nielsen?
Oh, I'm out on that. I apologize.
But you were very confident when we were talking about this hypothetical Spurs media versus Spurs assistant coaches game, which will never happen. But while we were just kind of daydreaming on it, you were very confident. That's the first thing you said. I will get buckets on Matt Nielsen.
Well, that was for comedic effect. That was for the Zoom.
This is one of the biggest. You believe that with your full chest?
No, big flip flop here.
That was on the Zoom event that our producer Monty Bach expertly organized, and he was telling me beforehand, like, we need some headlines, we need some engagement, and when you need to play up the personality and all that type of stuff. And so I was sort of going over the top. It felt like I'd give him buckets with something that would get attention, but what happened was I did not remember at the time. It had been a while since I'd spoken to Matt Nielsen in person and stood next to him. And I had forgotten how ridiculously outrageous that claim was, because not only is he 6'10", but he is still just, he looks like an athlete. Matt Nielsen would dominate. I regret ever even if it was a joke, I regret ever
if it was
making the joke.
Yeah.
I'm telling you that you got to answer me honestly. The day you made that ridiculous claim, like the moment you made it, you believed it with your whole heart.
I did not.
I
thought, okay, I will say that just my own pride, my own belief in my 48-year-old YMCA basketball abilities, thought, hey, maybe I could get lucky and get a hook shot over him. I've got a decent hook shot, but no, it's probably not going to, not probably, it would not happen.
One thing I know about Jeff McDonald, he's got a good BS meter. And it's the needle is, it's swinging to the right, BS, very forcefully right now.
Because I've known this purveyor of BS for 30 years.
I know.
It's finger calibrated, my BS meter.
Yeah.
Well, I will eat crow. There's no way Matt Nielsen. I met over, but it's the first week. It's the Good Vibes edition. Was able to have a couple chats with Corliss Williamson and Rashard Lewis at a shoot around this week, and both of those guys, not only could they just dominate the media in a basketball game, but really happy to be around. Really happy to be in San Antonio. Sean Sweeney's had a really good first week. We haven't talked much to him.
Second in the league in defensive rating.
The defense is going well. This whole new staff looks like it's well tailored for this season of good vibes. Will those good vibes continue? Tom missed the podcast last week, so we had Nick Talbot make a prediction for him. We're going to sign that to his record because that's Tom's punishment for not showing up to the podcast. But all three of us had projected a 3-1 record for the Spurs in our first podcast, and
we were wrong.
We were off by one. I'm sure Tom will now claim he was predicting 4-0, but you're assigned to 3-1. Looking forward, Miami on Thursday, a team that had a losing record last year. I think they're 2-1 this year, but they are in the Frost Bank Center for the last game of a homestand. Then Tom and I go on a West Coast swing beginning in Phoenix, the home of, we're going to be working till June, Dwayne Rankin, on Sunday. And then those are the only two before our next podcast. They will go to the Lakers after that, but we will be speaking to you before then. So we just have two games to predict, both against teams who had losing records last year.
Whoops.
But the Spurs have never been 5-0 before. Will they get to 5-0? Will they get to 6-0? Tom, we'll start with you. What are they going to do in these two games?
Well, let's see. The Lakers are banged up.
No Lakers. It's Heat and Suns.
Oh, Heat and Suns. Okay. Well, Eric Spoelstra, he's always tough. Tough coach. Heat are 2-1. I like the Heat. I like the Heat to put an end to the good vibes and give Mitch Johnson a favor, so he can point some things out and tell the guys you're not all that. Coaches love that. So I'm going 1-1.
1-1. Jeffrey.
Well, I'm glad Tom said it, but that's kind of where I'm leaning to. Is we don't get to 5-0. The Heat come in. Spurs are riding high. Heat come in here with Eric Spoelstra. The Heat are doing some weirdo stuff on offense that teams are kind of struggling to adjust to. I'm going to give them a 1-1 split with the loss against the Heat.
Protecting the legacy of Tim and Kawhi and LaMarcus and all those guys who had the 4-0 starts but couldn't get to 5-0. You're gonna say that 4-0 remains.
Yeah, do you think when they lose, if the Spurs lose in Miami, all those guys are like popping champagne cork like the 72 Dolphins?
72 Dolphins. Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna go on the. I'm not sure. Nick is monitoring the pod as always. I don't know if he wants to jump in, but I'm gonna be the outlier and say that the Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper stick it to Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker and LaMarcus Aldridge and ruin their whole legacy and become the first San Antonio Spurs team ever to go 5-0 and add to that a 6-0 start in Phoenix. And until then, let the good vibes continue. Take care of each other and keep it real.
Hey.